Welcome to the Captain English Podcast, your favorite place to unravel the mysteries of the English language, one fascinating topic at a time. I'm Paul, your co-pilot on this linguistic journey.
And I'm Alice, your other co-pilot, ready to guide you through some of the trickiest but most useful words in English. It's great to have you all back with us. We've got a really interesting episode planned for you today.
Absolutely, Alice. Today we're diving deep into a quartet of words that often cause a bit of head-scratching for English learners. We're talking about may, might, perhaps, and often. They seem simple enough, but using them correctly can really elevate your English.
They truly can, and I think the confusion often comes from their subtle differences in meaning, especially may and might. People sometimes use them interchangeably, but there are definite rules and feelings attached to each word.
Exactly. So, let's start with may. When we talk about may, we're usually thinking about two main things, possibility and permission. It's a modal verb, which means it helps other verbs.
Right. For possibility, may suggests that something is possible but not certain. It's like saying, it's possible this will happen. For example, it may rain later. This means there's a good chance of rain, but it's not guaranteed.
Yep, he may be at the library. You're not 100% sure, but you think it's a reasonable possibility. You're not guessing wildly, you have some reason to believe it. It's a fairly strong possibility, I'd say, maybe 50% or more.
And then for permission, this is probably how most of us learned may first. Think of phrases like, may I come in? Or you may leave now. It's a more formal and polite way to ask for or give permission compared to can.
Totally. If you ask your boss, may I take a day off, it sounds more respectful than, can I take a day off? Can focuses more on ability, like, can I lift this heavy box? While may focuses on permission. Though in casual speech, can is often used for permission too, it's good to know the distinction.
Definitely. And may can also be used to express a wish or a hope, which is a bit more poetic. Like, may you have a wonderful journey, or may peace prevail on earth. It's a lovely way to use the word.
It is. It adds a certain gravitas, doesn't it? So, to sum up, may, strong possibility, polite permission, and expressing wishes. Got it.
Now let's move on to might. This is where it gets a little more nuanced. Might is also about possibility, but generally, it suggests a weaker possibility than may.
Ah, the subtle difference. So if it may rain later means maybe 50% chance, what about it might rain later?
That implies a lesser chance, Paul. Maybe 30-40%. It's still possible, but it feels more uncertain, more doubtful. You might say, I might go to the party if I finish my work, which implies there's a condition and it's not definite.
Then specific, she helped you in tutti yesterday. So, he might be at the library means it's less likely than he may be at the library. It's a weaker guess. Perhaps you have less information, or the possibility is just smaller overall.
Exactly. Another key use for might is when we're talking about past possibilities that didn't happen. This is often in conditional sentences, the if clauses. For example, if you had called me, I might have helped you.
Ah, that's a classic. It means, in the past it was possible for me to help you, but because you didn't call, it didn't happen. You're expressing a hypothetical past situation. She might have won the race if she hadn't fallen.
Spot on. And another way might is used is as the past tense of may in reported speech. If someone says, I may go to the gym, and you're reporting it later, you'd say, she said she might go to the gym.
Right, that's a good grammar rule to remember. So, might means weaker possibility, past possibility in hypotheticals, and reported speech. The distinction between may and might for present possibility is really about the degree of likelihood.
Precisely. If you're really not sure at all, use might. If you've got a decent feeling about it, may is your friend. But honestly, in everyday casual conversation, people often use them interchangeably for present possibility, and it's generally understood. The key is knowing the subtle difference for more formal or precise contexts.
That's a great point. Language is always evolving, and context is king. Now, let's shift gears a bit to perhaps. This one is an adverb, right?
Yes, it is. Perhaps is an adverb of possibility. It basically means maybe or possibly. It's a more formal way of saying maybe, and it expresses uncertainty.
So, perhaps I'll go to the concert is similar to maybe I'll go to the concert?
Exactly the same meaning, but perhaps often sounds a bit more thoughtful or formal. You'd use perhaps more often in writing or more formal speech. Maybe is very common in everyday conversation.
This. I see. So you wouldn't typically say perhaps can you pass the salt? You'd say maybe you can pass the salt or just can you pass the salt?
Precisely. Perhaps usually goes at the beginning or sometimes in the middle of a sentence, right before the verb or after the auxiliary verb. Perhaps it's too late to call him. Or, he is perhaps the best candidate.
That's useful. It's like a slightly more sophisticated way of saying I'm not sure. So, perhaps and maybe are synonyms, with perhaps being more formal. Got it.
You've got it. And now for our final word of the day, often. This is another adverb, but this time it's an adverb of frequency. It tells us how frequently something happens.
Right, like always, sometimes, never, often means many times, frequently. I often go for a walk in the park.
Exactly. It indicates a high frequency, but not necessarily always. It's usually placed before the main verb or after the verb to be. So, I often read books or she is often late.
Can it go at the beginning or end of a sentence too?
It can, especially for emphasis, but it's less common. Often, I feel like trying new things. Or, I travel for work quite often. But its most natural and common placement is before the main verb.
Okay, that's good to know. So, often describes how frequently something occurs. It's not about possibility or permission, it's about recurrence.
Exactly. Now let's try to put them all together in some examples to really highlight their individual roles. How about this? Perhaps I might often forget my keys if I don't set a reminder.
Oh, that's a good one. Perhaps expresses the general uncertainty about forgetting. Might indicates the weaker possibility of it happening, and often describes the frequency of that potential forgetting. Wow, that sentence packs a punch with all four.
It does. Let's try another. He may often visit his grandparents, perhaps every weekend.
Okay, here may suggests a strong possibility that he visits, often tells us it's frequent, and perhaps adds a touch of uncertainty to the every weekend part. Like you're not entirely sure about the exact frequency, but you know it's often. That makes so much sense.
It really helps you see how each word contributes a specific nuance. If you said, he visits his grandparents often, it's a statement of fact. But adding may or might or perhaps changes the certainty level.
Yeah, and that's crucial for expressing yourself clearly in English. It's not just about getting the words out, but getting the right words out to convey your exact meaning and level of certainty or frequency.
Absolutely. Think about how confusing it would be if you always used may when you meant a very weak possibility, or if you used perhaps when you were stating a fact. It would just make communication muddier.
It really would. And this is why diving into these small words is so important. They build the foundation of clear communication. What about common mistakes, Alice?
A common mistake with may and might is using can instead of may for polite permission in formal contexts. While can is acceptable casually, may is definitely preferred in more formal settings, as we discussed earlier. And people often forget that might is great for those hypothetical past situations.
Right, if I had known, I might have gone. Not, I may have gone in that context. That's a good distinction.
And with perhaps, sometimes learners try to use it like a modal verb, which it isn't. You wouldn't say, I perhaps go, you'd say, perhaps I go, or I may go. It modifies the whole idea, not just the verb in the same way a modal does.
That's a subtle but important point. And for often, I sometimes hear people misplace it, like, I go often to the gym. While understandable, I often go to the gym flows much more naturally.
Exactly. Or even repeating it too much. I often go. One often is usually enough. It's all about natural flow and precision.
This has been incredibly insightful, Alice. I feel like we've really broken down these four words in a way that makes them much less intimidating. It's all about context and the degree of possibility or frequency you want to express.
Definitely. And remember, practice is key. Try to incorporate these words into your daily English practice. Pay attention to how native speakers use them in movies, songs, or other podcasts. The more you hear and use them, the more natural they'll become.
Absolutely. And on that note, if you're finding these episodes helpful and you want to continue improving your English with us, please make sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps us bring more great content to you, and you won't miss any future episodes.
Yes, please do. We love hearing from you too, so feel free to leave us a review or send us your questions. We might even answer them in a future episode. See, using might there to suggest a possibility.
Haha, perfect example. So, to recap quickly, may for strong possibility and polite permission, might for weaker possibility and past hypotheticals, perhaps as a more formal maybe for uncertainty, and often to describe how frequently something happens. Master these and your English will thank you.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Paul. Thank you everyone for joining us on this episode of the Captain English podcast. We hope you feel much more confident using may, might, perhaps, and often now.
That's all for today from Captain English. Keep practicing, keep learning, and we'll catch you next time for another exciting English lesson. Bye for now.
Bye everyone. Happy learning.